Here we go.
Welcome back to another episode of the Feast. I'm Blake, back. Thank you guys for having me back. I was in Florida last week, but good to be back with you, Brandon and Logan. What's up?
Welcome. Glad to have you back.
Did you hear that? He's going to be back with me and then you, Logan. Welcome back, Blake.
We'll take it.
Well, I'm happy to be back, and it's a good episode to get back into because not anything crazy. I feel like, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I got a good sense that David was going home pretty early in the episode, but still a lot of good content. And as much as this kind of build up over the last two episodes have been like this Kyle versus David, and now David's gone, it doesn't really feel like this is the end. I feel like it's just going to get tighter and more complex, and I'm excited about it. So this was, for me, a really fun episode to kind of see how the chips are stacking up and where everybody's head is at, kind of, and how they're navigating it. So not a ton of like flashy, showy moves, but just, I don't know, like good, deep Survivor content. So what'd you think, Logan?
Yeah, no, this week was kind of like a continuation of last episode and what happened. Not that that's a bad thing, because like you said, great content, great Survivor things going on, blind sides, all of the things that we love. So, like I think you said, a lot of little things, but definitely some things we want to talk about and dive into. But
yeah, I think this episode was a pivotal episode for the health of the season. A lot of the consensus online has been, we don't want to see this majority alliance just march their way through the game. And there were three outcomes tonight. It was Camilla, David, or Mitch. And I think if Mitch goes home or Camilla goes home, then it's obvious where everybody stands, and we would have seen the just one by one the minority goes. And I think the majority alliance realizing that they needed to turn on their own is going to really open up and help this season as it progresses.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Did you guys find yourself on the side of Kyle or David?
I personally have been on the side of Kyle. I think some of the just uncertainty of David, the kind of paranoia, where in the world Mary came from. I know Brandon and I kind of talked about that last week, where she came from joining into the Six, and with her having such a large say and kind of alliance with David.
Yeah, I was team Kyle as well. And a lot of it really goes back to, I've just been a fan of Kyle and Camilla since the early days of the season. So I want to see their story end in triumph. But also, like, I liked David too, up until really the last couple episodes, where he's decided to abandon this plan that they had put together and seemingly bringing in Mary. And then the way that he's going about the game, or was going about the game, where he's almost attacking his alliances, where with Kyle, hey, this should have been easy. I don't understand why it was so hard for you. We're telling Joe, like, you went back on your word. I know we'll talk about that a little bit, but it was really easy to root against David over the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, I think the last 2 weeks definitely obviously was his downfall. The Chrissy and kind of tribal there that extended on, and it was, like you said, rough to see, because I did really enjoy David from kind of the start, and these last two episodes kind of changed my look on that a little bit.
Which I thought I saw something that apparently the David and Chrissy thing last tribal got fairly heated, and they cut most of that. But it sounded like David was like yelling at Chrissy at one point.
I saw that as well.
My hair's doing crazy things. I'm trying to focus.
I mean, with those luscious locks, I can imagine why.
Oh, you mean these? All right.
I'm not jealous. You're jealous.
Yeah.
No,
It's
I'm with you
new
guys.
podcast name. Brandon and his two bald friends.
That'll come out in 2027. Stay tuned. No, I'm with you guys. I was definitely on Kyle's side. Easy to root against David. The problem that I found myself having was I didn't necessarily, even though I agreed with Kyle, I didn't necessarily like how Kyle was handling the situation and seemed to get really worked up. And for somebody who's been so calm, cool, and collected through most of the game so far, and he explained that a little bit this week and just some of his past, but I was a little surprised and that he still wasn't able to have a productive conversation with David this week. But some of that I think was on David too.
I think so too. I think I would argue it's more on David because he was trying. I think Kyle. I think obviously David's read was correct, right?
Right.
And I think obviously Kyle knows David's read is correct. Kyle's trying to squash the beef, and instead of David, it's kind of a theme with David in this entire episode of he just needs to accept the circumstances,
Yeah.
and he'd probably still be in the game.
Yeah. Know when to make a move and when not to. Hey, I tried, didn't work out. I'm still safe. Let me lay low for a minute, regather things instead of literally the next morning sitting at the beach with everybody. And I was like, we could do whatever, or we could do Camilla. I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
chill, bud.
The other thing, I mean, kind of along the lines with David and all, how I think the way, like we said, he handled some of that, even coming back from Tribal. Did you guys catch what he like said to Camilla and like how he explained why he voted for Camilla?
Oh, I thought she was going to play her shot in the dark.
Yeah.
And she was like, you're a horrible liar.
Like, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of funny.
But staying on that, and I know you guys talked about it last week a little bit, but did I miss where Mary came from? I mean, all I could think of was David realized that he's on the bottom of that final five and realizing, hey, I don't have a clear number one and everybody else seems to. I've got to pull somebody else in. Let me pull in Mary, who has nobody. But I was still confused. Like, he kept talking about bringing somebody into the final, like the strong six instead of the strong five. But they were at final 9. They didn't need 6 votes. They only needed 5 votes. So I don't know. I was just so confused. And usually when you see somebody make a new number one, you get some sort of insight as to like how that came to be, but it just seems so random to me.
We were the same way. The only I know that they had a connection when they did the tribe swap. They ended up on a tribe together, but I feel like we missed the explanation of, oh, they're really tight and Mary's just in the 6 now. So I have no clue. For 2 weeks in a row, I've been baffled by the amount of influence. I said it to Logan last week. It almost felt, and even a little bit this week, it felt like David was pitching Camilla's name almost on behalf of Mary, because Mary wants Camilla gone. But I'm like, why does Mary want Camilla gone?
Right.
Like, it felt like we were missing something there.
Yeah. It just didn't make sense. She came out of nowhere. She had a huge, almost not, I don't know, say, but pull, but like influence on David. And it almost seemed like David was trying to tailor to Mary for the, like, and just abandon everything. I don't know. It's just weird.
And then why, I guess, why was the rest of the alliance not like questioning it? Why were they just like, yeah, you can be in it too, Mary, and then have a ton of say?
Say's not in here or in the game anymore.
Oh, I didn't know.
But no,
Yeah.
absolutely, Brandon.
Unless they just thought Okay, fine. She can be at the bottom.
Yeah, and it could have been just based off of the nature of the alliance. Like, yeah, sure, why not one more? Like we feel really comfortable with the five that we have. I don't think it's going to hurt
Right.
to have one more. But honestly, you could make the argument that David pulling Mary in is the reason that David's gone, because
1000%.
David had this outside influence that was pulling him in the opposite direction of what his alliance wanted, and it created a rift there.
Yep.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
You start looking at things like that. If Mary can start speaking to some of those moves on, even though it was not her intention to get David out, but if she could say, hey, it was because of me that we got out a huge threat. Wasn't necessarily my intention, but just the way that you explain some of those moves, Mary's been in kind of some critical spots in the game, even though she hasn't like directly made those big moves. She could make a case for like how she is playing the game and actually surviving, being the last, what was her original tribe?
Vula.
Yep. Mary's a dark horse.
I think if I remember correctly on one of the emails that we got, I think Dad had picked Mary as a winner in one of his emails.
Okay.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yep.
And I think he said something along the lines that we should pick it as well. Pick winners, but
He called you out, Blake. Blake, you said you're not ready to choose a winner yet. Are you going to wait until there's only 3 people left? What up with that?
I'll pick
He
a
picked
winner.
Mary.
I'll pick a winner.
I mean, I can. I feel like it's late, but I got a winner. I can do it. I've kind of already laid out my thoughts, so I can pick one. Oh, you want me to do it right now?
Go for it.
while we're on it.
I think it's Camilla.
Okay.
The end. If it's not Camilla, it's Shaheen. Mm-hmm. If it's not Shaheen, it's Kyle. And if it's not Kyle, it's Joe. And if it's not Joe, it's Eva. And if it's not Eva, it's Star. And if it's not Star, it's Mitch. So I got all my bases covered. But I think it's Camilla.
Who are you going to say, Blake?
So you would say your top 3, Camilla, Shaheen, and Kyle?
Yeah. I feel like Joe or Eva is going to be in there, though.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's what I was going to say. I hate to pick the same person, but I don't see anybody playing better than Camilla.
I have no notes. I have nothing that I would be like, she should do this or she should do that. It's all like everything she has done to this point is the only thing she's done wrong is not be in the majority alliance.
Yep. But I mean, if she can last the entire way, not being in the majority, speak to her game, absolutely.
And as you can see this week, the majority alliance got voted out.
Yep.
So
I was going to either pick Camilla or Shaheen as well. I think they're both playing a great game. Shaheen's reading people great. He's playing a great game as well.
The only thing with Shaheen is Camilla actually with Shaheen, or does Shaheen think Camilla's with him, or what's going on with that? I was confused.
I don't think they know yet.
And I think Shaheen thinks Camilla is more with him than she really is. I think she's with him to a point, but clearly Kyle is her number 1. But I think she obviously has some trust there and some sort of an alliance, but I don't think it's as strong as Shaheen actually believes it is.
So I'll make a bolder prediction. I think Final 4 is Shaheen, Joe, Camilla, and Kyle. Shaheen will win immunity and take Joe to the final 3 and make Kyle and Camilla go against each other because he's going to figure out how close they are. Camilla's going to beat Kyle, and then Camilla's going to win the game.
I love if that's the final 3.
Great.
We have won as fans.
100%.
So I hope you're right.
It'd be great. That's a pretty great prediction, Blake.
So if I could like lay out my perfect ending to this season, that would be it.
I like it.
So put this one on record. We're going to come back and watch it and see how wrong I was.
All right, so Camilla. You said Camilla or Shaheen, Logan.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Okay.
realize we could pick 6 people.
Brandon listed everybody, so
That's
Yeah.
true.
I'm gonna go with
I was just
I'm gonna go with Camilla.
okay. Yeah, clean sweep. I was just letting people know the scenarios that they already knew.
It's funny. Brandon, do we have any mail? Before
We sure
get
do.
to the very end of the episode and forget about it.
Yeah, we got mail. For the second week in a row, my mom has emailed in.
Whoop,
So
whoop.
kind of taken over.
Dang, Dad's just showing you up.
Slacking.
So this was actually a question she sent in after last week, but I think it is still relevant. So I'm excited to get into it and see what you guys think. So its subject is Joe and Eva. Do you think they are hurting each other's games, especially with the dependence that Eva seems to have on Joe? Is he getting caught up in trying to take care of her and losing sight of things?
It's a great question. I don't think so. In my opinion, I don't think it's necessarily hurting Joe. I think Joe has a fairly good head on his shoulders, able to kind of see some of alliances where people are, obviously looking out for Eva and cares about what she thinks. He knows she had a great relationship with David and some of that. I think keeping an open mind, I don't think it's necessarily hurting their game currently. I think going forward, if it gets down to Eva giving up a idol or whatever to try and save him, if something goes wrong there, that could cause an issue, and just one of them go home and not. I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense what I'm saying there, but I don't think it necessarily is hurting their game currently. No.
I completely disagree.
What you got?
So, I guess maybe not completely. I don't know that it is like totally devastated their game, but I do not think it has helped in any way for anybody outside of those two. It's really, really nice to have somebody that you can trust 100% in the game and legitimately feel that way. Like, you just don't ever see that where one of them doesn't turn on the other. And I feel like these two people legitimately trust each other. So in that aspect, I think it is an absolute benefit to their game. But you just see the looks on some of the people's faces. Like, man, that's 2 votes. Like, they're voting together. That's a voting block, and they're not swaying from each other. And Joe's come out and said, like, I'm at the risk of going home. I will not, like, backstab you or, like, I trust you 100%. I've got you. I'll go home over it. And I don't know. I think Joe's game would be much better off if him and Eva were more like Kyle and Camilla. Way more under the radar, still having that full-on trust, still being in the same alliance. Like, that's fine, but just not everybody knowing how tight they are. And I don't know. I think it will end up being a detriment.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, and I think, again, it's just the nature of this season. I think something that Mitch said, actually, was some things that work on one season don't work on the next season, and I think that their alliance, their unbreakable alliance, just works this season, but if we put them on 47 or 49, people would be going, we got to break up Joe and Eva. That would have been probably the first thing that happened at the merge, was we need to break up Joe and Eva. So I think for this season, no. I don't think it's really a detriment to their game. I think because of the people they are surrounded by. But if they wake up and we have potential 4-on-4 next week, I think Joe and Eva are targets. So it's a great question. It's a tough question, though.
Yeah. But I do find myself rooting for them more than I am. I'm kind of rooting for a lot of people, but I don't
It's
find myself wishing like with David this week. I was like, okay, I'm kind of ready for the drama of David to go. So cool. But at no point have I thought, yeah, I'm ready for Joe or Eva to go. Like, I'd be okay with it. I'm just not there yet.
I'm not at the point of I'm ready for them to go, but it's getting a little old. Like, pick one more, Joe. Okay, it's clearly the last person we know. You're gonna pick Eva, and the like, whatever you want to do, I'll vote with you. Like, I get they clearly have 100% trust in each other, but it's like, let's play Survivor. Come on.
Yeah.
So
Why do you think so many people gravitate to Joe? And because obviously people view him as trustworthy because they're sharing all kinds of stuff with him, but everybody seems to really trust him. And other than just him being an honest and trustworthy guy, I mean, it's hard to define something with the word and the definition, but what do you think it is about him that makes people gravitate towards him and trust him like that?
I think because he's real, and I think he's so open about who he is, and I just think you just are like, this guy is good.
I think Brandon said something there of he likes, he says what he's about. He's open. He's very honest about who he is, and I think not only saying that but showing that. I mean, helping Eva out at the challenge, the one episode, to being honest and just the conversations and having that there, not even just saying it, but showing those actions and having that's going to attract people. I mean, who doesn't want to have somebody that they trust and can talk to and open up to when you are out on an island lonely and going through a tough time like Kyle did the other day? Like, having somebody that you can go and trust and seem like it's somebody that actually cares and it's not just talking to, I think that's very, very attractable in somebody's character.
Yeah, I think the standout point for me was like I could tell that he was listening, like actively listening to people, and you can tell when somebody's like sitting there and just hearing you versus when they're actually like listening to what you're saying.
Care.
And
Yeah.
and even if you're not saying anything back, because I think he's been like, I mean, relatively quiet compared to some of the other players, but I think just people realize that he is actually listening and cares, and that's just attractive. That, like you said, Brandon, he's being real and just authentic, and yeah, definitely not like something that we have ever seen. I think bold move, him and what's his name from last season should make a podcast or something.
Sam?
No.
Oh gosh.
Oh, you're good.
There's only a few of them to pick through.
Saul,
Oh, there you go.
Joe, and Saul.
Be
I
a
think
good
that
one.
just authentic, just good people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Saul, after he was done getting bullied by Rome for no reason at all. You think, oh, hold on. Let's do a scenario. Rome tries to walk all over Joe the same way that he walks all over Saul. How do we see that going?
Rome is out of there first week that he does that. Like, Joe's just
Yeah.
not tolerating it.
Yeah, they'd have to go find Rome out in the third sandbar because Joe sent him. Rolled him up into a ball and shot put him out to sea.
What'd you guys think of Eva's advantage?
I was actually going to bring that up. I thought when you mentioned earlier about having majority and now it is kind of tied 4-4 going into next episode, kind of splitting that up, I was curious at your guys' thoughts and wanted to kind of talk through that. Eva obviously found her advantage clue at the previous reward, said sneak out at the next evening and go down the beach, and there'll be a reward there for you. She gets there, and immediately, congrats, you got an extra vote. And at that point, on the list of things, it said you can now risk your extra vote and select between two bamboos. And in one, we'll have safety without power, and the other will lose extra vote, and then you go back with nothing. Eva decided to risk it and go for safety without power and got that. Had one more opportunity to risk her safety without power to get a full immunity idol, but she's kept the safety without power. Do you guys agree with her choice?
Yes.
Or do you think she should have kept the extra vote?
I think the extra vote is super valuable too, especially knowing what we know is happening next week.
Absolutely.
But I think taking the gamble and being successful, getting the safety without power, I'm not going to knock that move, but I also know like a lot of people don't get lucky twice. So I think it's good to stop at safety without power because her odds of success went down after that.
For sure.
I was a little hesitant on the choice. I get obviously safety without power. You're safe. You're not going home. So that always has that appeal. But at this point in the game, safety without power also means you leave, and you leave the rest of your alliance with one less vote. So going in the next tribal, she's used safety without power. They're down 4-3 now. Where if she has that extra vote, she has an extra swing vote if it is tied or close there. I think I would have kept that extra vote, and she didn't know how this week would have ended. But I don't know. That was a really, really tough one for me.
So the nice thing for me is that she has choices because she has the immunity. She already has an immunity idol. So
Absolutely.
she doesn't need to walk out next week. I think she can only use it for the next two tribals.
Right.
So she doesn't need to use it next week, and she shouldn't because it's a critical vote. And obviously they don't know how the numbers are shaking out, but she might as well use it unless she wins immunity. She might as well use it the last time she can. But I thought it was fine.
Yeah, that's a good point that you made, and I didn't even think of that. I made the point earlier of being at final 9 and only needing 5 votes. At top 8, you really need 5 votes as well. And so while safety without power is super enticing because you're completely safe, but thinking about it for this week, it might have been better to have that extra vote, and then it's okay if it is split 4-4. We can break the tie. And yeah. Do we know how long her actual idol is good for?
I believe it's final 5.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, just being a normal idol, I believe they typically are final 5.
Yeah. So don't do safety without power this week. 100% play it, or next episode, 100% play it at final 7.
And then that would leave 3v3 splitting votes, whatever happens there. But
she's got an idol still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the nice thing with her is she's been a challenge threat the entire time, so it's not out of the question that she can win immunity. And then if she wins immunity, she can kind of play with that a little bit. Like, hey, Joe, or I don't know if you're feeling good tonight, but if you don't feel good, play this idol. Or Joe, I don't know if you can transfer safety without power, but
I'm sure she could give it to him. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but I think she'd have to give it to him before tribal.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It'll definitely be interesting to see how it plays out, especially next week and what goes on. But it was kind of interesting and made me think a little bit more about the implications of that choice. Are we going to see anything maybe bad from that?
No, that the more we talk about Eva, the more I think she is in control of the rest of her game more than almost anybody with those two advantages, and then her ability to win immunity. And she could make it to top 4 really dang easily, especially having, so she has two advantages: the ability to win at least another immunity challenge, and then a number one who is ride or die, is willing to put his game on the line for you. Like, you can't get in a much better position than that. And the more we talk about her, the more I'm like, oh man, they're going to have to make a move like quickly and her not catch any wind of it to get her out, because
We have to be a total blindside.
man. And the shorter the numbers get, the more impact her relationship with Joe has on the game.
Yep.
Like, it's just going to make their target even bigger. How did we make it 9 episodes into the season and just realize that Star was practicing to learn how to swim? Did I miss that from the previous 8 episodes?
No, but now that we found that out, I almost kind of want to go back in any of the water challenges. Did she sit out on those?
I think she was sitting out on those.
Okay.
Gotcha.
I can specifically think of one. It was when Camilla asked Star about Thomas's journey.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was a really cool moment with like Mitch laying on the sand, showing her how to do it, and
Mitch is just buried in the sand.
he was straight sea turtle in the beach, like clearing out sand, and
Yeah.
But no,
You could definitely tell he is a PE teacher.
yeah,
It's like, you've got this, just keep going.
but that was a really cool moment.
What this is kind of jumping to the end of this episode, but and maybe I'm just overthinking this, but I've got such a weird, like, I can't quite get a read on the jury. So people's reaction to right when they're voted out, like David, for instance, seemed just super upset, totally blindsided, kind of pissed. And then in the exit interview, like at the very end of the episode, he's like, man, they got me. Like, looking forward to this chocolate milk. It's all good. Good game. Like, wish it wouldn't happen that way. Like, whatever he said. But it was like, it's all good. No worries. And then seeing the people come into the jury, Cedric and Chrissy, they looked a little bitter. Or, maybe not bitter, but they didn't seem like, like, we're cool. We love the rest of these players. And then hearing the way Camilla was talking and her and Star's like weird communication there. When Star was like, nah, she said, if you vote me out, you ain't ever getting my vote. And she's like, she said it better than me. That was cracking me up. But that, I don't know, just the way people are leaving, and then in the exit interview seems like happy-go-lucky, and then not really. And I just can't quite get a read on how this jury is going to be. And I know it may shift, but I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. I just can't figure it out.
I think it's really going to play out who obviously is on the jury. Does that core alliance of the strong group, loyal group, get broken up a little bit more where a few of those are on the jury? Or does it go the opposite way where we have more of the other kind of alliance or group that's not on that ends? Because if it's not the strong group that's necessarily on the council, I think they could have to get more explanation of the game of, hey, you guys were on this alliance and kind of had a coast. You had the numbers the entire time. What did you do differently? And had to speak to their game a little bit more there. So I think it depends on who's on the jury.
Well, I think it'll depend on when they go to the jury, because if all of that strong core alliance gets voted out by Eva and Joe, for instance, they could be a little pissed at them, even though that was their alliance. But if they're voted out at the very end and it's just kind of whittles down, and like could not be a problem. I don't know. This one's going to be very intriguing to see, like, because maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like in past seasons you could kind of get a grasp on, like, oh, the jury's going to be cool. They want the best player to win. Or, man, the jury's going to be like whoever they like the most. And I don't get a sense of that this season. So it kind of makes me hopeful that it's not one person running away with it. It might be a split final tribal.
One thing, you said something that gave me another thought about the email from earlier about Joe and Eva. I think final tribal is where they could be hurt, because it could be, you could get a question or even have the jury think, what did they do on their own? What move did they make on their own? Right? So if you get Joe, what did you actually do in this game? Eva, what did you actually do in this game that you didn't do with Joe? And I think Eva has more to speak on that than Joe.
For sure.
Eva has plenty to speak on. Not saying Joe doesn't, but if you put them against each other, I think Eva wins.
But will Eva be able to speak to that?
I think so.
That's half the battle, right? Is because you get some people up there that are like, man, they played a much better game than they really led the jury to believe. And if they would have been able to effectively communicate that a little bit more, they might have had a better shot. And I'm not saying that she doesn't. I'm wondering if she's going to be able to articulate that.
Yeah. I mean, I think she can. I think clearly just in the confessionals we see of her, she clearly has a grasp and understanding of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think she'll be able to do that. But my take on the jury, though, is Cedric is going to be the deciding vote because he's had way too much impact on votes. I still don't know if he's just a giant goofball or an evil genius.
Yeah.
Chrissy, I said it last week, I don't think she's a very good Survivor player, so I don't really know where her head's at.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could see
I
her.
think David will be cool. I think, especially since he's voted out somewhat early.
Yeah.
I think he'll have
true.
a lot of time to reflect. I think if he was final 5 and got voted out, I think he'd come in pretty hot at final tribal.
That's very true.
Was there anything else at tribal that we really needed to talk about? But I mean, outside of a few moments there, I thought it was all.
Nope.
Yeah, I didn't have anything specific. Tribal wasn't super interesting from like a gameplay standpoint. I did really enjoy it, just from the from the stance of getting to see kind of the insight into how each player was thinking about their position in the game right now. And it seemed like that went on for quite a while, more than just 2 or 3 questions. So I thought it was really good content, but not anything that was just needs to be discussed.
I mean, we're on to Survivor of the Week.
It does.
Man.
You have one?
I got to think through this one.
Do you have one?
Yeah, I can go first. I wrote this down. I wrote down Kyle, and I wrote it down as a kind of sit-in, but I like Kyle this week. He was in a tough spot last week, made it through it, and then still was able to navigate keeping him and Camilla's alliance under the radar. Tried to make nice with David, was able to have that conversation with Joe and build further trust in him, and then kind of get everybody to move towards getting David out of the game. After it kind of felt like last week, everything might be starting to crumble for him. So a good rebound for him this week.
For sure. I'm going to go similar direction, but not the same. I'm going to go Shaheen. I think Shaheen's Survivor IQ is some of the best of the season and maybe the past several seasons. The way he was able to communicate how he had been laying the groundwork for 3 or 4 days on David getting out, on David or on voting David out. I think was super smart. Not just being able to do that, but to be able to speak to it and like point out, these are the conversations that I had. And then the fact that production was able to show the clips of that just kind of really drove that point home. And I don't know, seeing how he approached Kyle after that whole thing and kind of went off with him. I really, really liked his gameplay this week.
I like it. I was in between Kyle and this one. I don't know if I fully was committed on, but Eva. I'm going with Kyle. I think, like you said, Brandon, the bounce back way he was able to talk with Shaheen, keep the alliance undercover, and build, not necessarily build trust because he already had the trust there with Joe, but just that conversation he had there, keeping the alliance with Camilla just in wraps. I think he's been playing it and trying to navigate that very well.
I like it.
All right. Email us at themergefeastpodcast@gmail.com if you want to send in any questions, feedback, suggestions. Check us out on social media, Instagram and TikTok at The Merge Feast, Twitter at Merge Feast Pod, and then said it last week, but I'll say it again. We're now on Threads at The Merge Feast, so check us out there as well. We have new posts getting uploaded daily, so get in there, interact with us, engage with us. We'd love to see you there.
Sounds good. All right. Well, go ahead and say goodbye, Logan.
Goodbye, Logan.